Now tonight, the Black Stars will look to hire a new coach before its World Cup playoff against Nigeria in March. Now, the GFA, we are told, will soon reconstitute this technical team and management committee after due engagement with virtually everybody that matter in that space. This was after they were pushed to sack that head coach, Milovan Rajvac, due to the famous exit of the nation from the AFCON. Now, just before the dust settled on the move, members of Ghana's legislature have descended heavily on the football administration, demanding, amongst others, that heads must roll. Let's listen to them. After that, we'll subject their views to the needed scrutiny.
You mess about with this Black Stars of Ghana, Mr. Speaker, you will lose your life. I didn't watch the match, I must confess. I didn't. For some time now, I stopped watching them. But on this particular occasion, Mr. Speaker, I wasn't very well. I was afraid that if I watched them, my condition was going to deteriorate. I didn't. They become pretty risky, a bit like the English set of players we have now. Mr. Speaker, there's a question I want to pose to the Black Stars of Ghana. LA #1 country school, wherever you were there, you would all testify to my agility. Mr. Speaker, I could dive to the ends of the post. I could. I will lend you the cats. That's how they referred me to. There was some little thing I watched on this. This guy, you know what I mean? I think he made the point. He said to the whole country, that listen, as far as he was concerned, it was a serious business today. What he was going to do was that he was going to eat to his fullest satisfaction two things. If we win, well, he's already had enough to eat, so there's no need eating again. But if we lose, which he knew we definitely were going to lose, he had already eaten, so he will just sleep. Those of you who want it. Yeah, my friend says, Picasso, it shows how much passion there is about football in Ghana. Let them get a new coach. If they haven't already sacked him, the sports minister, if he's here, he should be here to be listening to this. Where is he? Where are you, the sports minister? You mammy here. What did the Americano? Sack him if you haven't done that already, or you yourself will be sacked.
We join score of Ghanaians to express our utmost disappointment at the abysmal performance of Ghana Black Stars, leading to their unprecedented early exit from the ongoing AFCON Cup of Nations in Cameroon. Ghana Black Stars, one of the top teams on the continent of Africa, did not live up to the expectations of many across the continent, the rest of the world, and in particular, Ghanaians at the ongoing African Continental Football Games in Cameroon. This disappointing development can be attributed to poor management of the team, right from coach selection, player selection, and poor coordination of pre-tournament preparations. Therefore, the poor performance on the field of play, such as player coordination, infighting, technical deficiencies, and confusion can only be attributed to poor management decisions by the leadership of the FA and government.
So you heard MPs Katie Amont and also Kobina Mensah Woyome, who is the ranking on the Youth and Sports Committee in Parliament. The unanimous call was that we needed to do something about the state of football in the country. Some of them said dissolve the Black Stars, dissolve the GFA, forget about Nigeria, make sure that we refix this in the coming years before we lose any little love left for the national team by Ghanaians. Tonight, we'll be asking whether the proposals the MPs are putting forward are any wonderful ones to reform the football in the Republic of Ghana. My guest, let me start in studio. He was a former minister in the sports ministry. That ministry that people hardly last an entire government's tenure. But, I mean, of course, your time was also turbulent, really. Yes. So, Neelante van der Poel is also the Member of Parliament for the Dodio. Honorable, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
I hope you are doing well.
I'm feeling better.
I'll soon be joined by a man who was leading the call for the dissolution of the entire the Black Stars in this case. The Honorable Patrick Boama, who is the MP for Kalkwe Central. That conversation will be happening with him on board too. Then later on, we'll be asking the people who've been in GFA before, is it very easy to reconstitute a team and get it to win against Nigeria, or we should forget about the next game? Now, let me go to the phone lines. I'll come to you, Honorable. For the Honorable Patrick Boama to justify to me why he thinks that we should forget our playoff with Nigeria to be able to play in the World Cups anytime too. Honorable Patrick Boama, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, sir.
Yes. Now, the very first question dear to my heart is you elevated the stakes. You don't even think that we should waste our time going to the World Cup by playing the playoff. Why so?
Thank you very much. I said, if need be.
Okay.
If need be, because looking at the current structure of the team and looking at where we got to in the competition, just with a point, and looking at the current setup of the Nigerian national team, I said, if need be, the team ought to be dissolved so that we
Oh, I'm afraid I have a bad line today.
The proper structures.
We should be able to fix that. If it's still difficult getting through to the Member of Parliament, then we should be able to fix that and get him back on, because I want to understand why he is of the opinion that we shouldn't attempt. And he says, if need be, we should rather regroup. Is that also your opinion? I know you were opposed to sacking Milo, contrary to the views of the majority of us in this republic.
You see, I am a football person. I have played football, and I know what it is like to be able to put a team together to play even a match. And I've been in football administration for long. I know how to nurture players. I know how to put a team together. And I've also been in administration. I know what it is like to be able to mobilize resources and even mobilize support for a national team. There's one particular thing I saw in the competition, the AFCON. Our second match was quite better than the first match. Our third match, even though we lost, our performance was better than the first two. So my conclusion is that given time, this team can improve. But we don't have time. But I'll also not be one of the apostles crying for the fact that we must, if need be, we must forget about the match against Nigeria. Anything at all can happen. The Nigerians were playing well, but in their final match against Tunisia, they were awful. So in football, a team that is so good can perform badly on a day. So we cannot just throw our hands into the air in despair and say that, look, because we didn't play too well in the AFCON, let's forget about even the playoff. I would say let's pragmatically sit down and say, look, some of these young boys who played in this AFCON have potential.
Okay.
I can mention to you, if you take Jiku, for example, was superb to me. He can be a future prospect in the defense. The Chre was fantastic. Pencil shows some good. Kamaldeen, Kudus, and we have the young Fatau. All these boys are young boys, given the opportunity. In fact, the young guy who came in as a substitute, Samuel Owusu, is fantastic. I don't know why the coach did not play him. If I were the coach, I wouldn't have played one of the Ahils. I would have played him.
Okay.
Yeah, I will have played him and maybe bring Jordan in in the second half, because Jordan is also a very good substitute. He is able to read a game when he's on the bench, and then when he goes into the game, he knows what to do.
Jordan, are you?
Yes. Our matches that I've seen him perform,
there were
very
many complaints.
optimally.
There were many complaints about his performance in this tournament.
Yes. What I've seen about him, that he performs to his optimum level when he rather starts from the bench.
Oh, I see.
So you see, a coach must have.
But you
time.
know this.
Yes,
Our
to me, technical,
our coach
yes,
certainly
that's
should
what
have
I'm
known
saying,
this
that
too.
those who are also calling for the sacking of the coach, which has been done, in a way, have also hurt our cause. Okay. Because you see, he has been with these players. He has seen bits and pieces of their shortcomings. Mm-hmm. He can sit down and do a little bit of SWOT analysis on every player now.
Okay.
He had the team just about 2 months to the tournament. He didn't have enough time. Unlike the team he had before, which he had known for over a year, this team, he barely knew them. Some of the players were meeting their colleague Blaster players for the first time at AFCON. Some of them were wearing the Blaster jersey for the first time with other colleagues. They've never known them before. They've never met before in life. So they don't know themselves very well. So this is a team. Tomorrow you sack.
So it was our fault we appointed the coach late. Is that what you say?
It is. That one is.
It's our fault.
And that is where.
But I mean, then you mean it's the GFA's fault because they are the ones who are in charge of it.
Yes, I will say so. Definitely, the back stops with them. Mm-hmm. They are in charge of the administration of the club, so they will take the decision.
So we should have sacked CK Akono earlier.
If we wanted to sack him, we should have sacked him earlier. If we wanted to build him up, we should have started building him up earlier. Sometimes it's not just about CK. If you look at most of the teams at AFCON, they have local coaches, but they have expatriates adding to the value of the local coach. Mm. You understand? But when you have a situation where you have virtually the whole team local coaches, sometimes some of these little bit technical know-hows, which we are lacking, they are not able to transfer. That's why I'm saying that I don't see the work of our technical director at the FA, the LEPET. It's total waste of money.
Really?
Yes, because he has not transferred anything since he came. He has not built any know-how. He's not giving out any knowledge to our local coaches, better them, made them much more profitable to us. He should have added something to CK.
I see.
So, Raymond, my point here is that the next coach you are going to bring will have barely a month to prepare the team for the World Cup.
We are setting the person up to fail in the first place.
Because the Nigerian
but that's the same excuse that Milo came in with. I have 3 months or less to deal with the team. So you can't blame me for it. You see, you are also making the same point. But he didn't reject the team.
The national team is not club football.
Yeah, but I get you. He didn't reject the role.
You gave him this thing that, look, our target is the next World Cup.
You agree with him when he says
that's the target they gave.
But it didn't mean that anything before that time was not relevant.
So I'm saying that sometimes we don't set our objectives right.
Okay.
What do we get to achieve? Like,
but to be fair, it's the GFA that sets up the objectives, right?
Yes. Like Patibwama is saying, if need be, if I sit here today, I will say the same. That let's play the playoff. If you qualify for the World Cup, fine. But if you don't qualify for the World Cup, Milo, go. You understand?
All right.
I would have said that. Then we now sit down, come home and plan. What is our next target? Our target is the next 10 years World Cup and Cup of Nations. Who are the players we need to put together to look forward to that goal? Who are the men, the technical men, who we can put together to be able to nurture those players to achieve that goal? And in that player, that if you want to achieve something in 10 years, you will not go and pick players who are 25 and 30 years.
There's something that's been said about the GFA disagreeing with the sports ministry about whether or not to sack the coach.
Because they have a contract. The GFA has a contract with the coach.
Okay.
And so to them, I think it will be injurious to decide to sack because it will go with a lot of compensation.
Yeah.
Money that
which we are told he's demanding.
Yes, he will demand. Definitely he will demand. And it's an international. If you don't pay him, he take you there. You could be banned.
Was it an emotional decision, which was a poor decision?
So. I think so. From a technical point of view, there is no way I would have advised my government to take such a decision because it's a bit irrational. To me, he has seen these players. We have just a month and 2 weeks for the playoff against Nigeria. Let him be there. He himself will come to a realization that my performance at the AFCON wasn't too good. What can I do to make it better?
But are we not risking a lot more?
But you have to take risk. What we have done is much more riskier than keeping Milo.
I'll come back to you. Forgive me. Give me a second. Let me just go to the phone lines and speak to Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. He's a former GFA president. He's on the Accra House of Folk board, and he understands football.
My former chief executive.
Okay, yes, that's important to note today. Doc, you're welcome to Upfront. Well, it appears if you can hear me, Doc, you're welcome to Upfront.
Thank you.
The members of our parliament are waking up to smell the coffee, but they are very angry. They are demanding blood. They are insisting that some people who are at the helm of football must be sacked. Others are going a step further. They say we should not even try playing, if need be, the World Cup qualifiers. Are these proposals you think will help us fix the current problems with the Black Stars?
No, I don't think that will help us a lot. Firstly, let's look at the coach, and they are called that he should be sacked. Sorry. Now, the coach cannot be sacked by government, can only be sacked by the FA. And I think that is why the FA has finally taken the decision that he should go. You see, we are in a state now that we have been before years ago. And the same state my club Accra House about 40 years ago, where as the chairman of the club, I had to sack almost the entire team. I brought in young people, young committed people. Now initially people didn't understand me, but finally it turned out to be one of the best things that could be done for a club to survive. Now at the moment, I must say we are in a very bad state as far as football is concerned. What we have to do, and which I called for earlier on, was to match the coach up. Matching up for few reasons. Now, the coach, after leaving Ghana, went to few countries in Asia and even in the Arab land. And almost everywhere he went to, he was sacked. For the past 4 or 5 years, he's not been in any active way. So, going in for such a person, I think big. I'm not surprised when he came in, he gave a promise that he couldn't run it, he couldn't do anything. Now, the boys we had were boys, most of them are in either third division or fourth division clubs across here, apart from Pate and Atiamati, you know. Almost all of them are really coming from clubs that are not really so. Now, what I noticed also that most of the boys are age cheap. You see, when a footballer clocks 30 plus, there isn't much that you can get out of him. And that is what this coach should have said. So I was not surprised that their performance was that terrible. If you watch the matches that they take care of, you can see that they got tired quickly compared to the other contestants. Now, if you watch the match between Ivory Coast, it was Ivory Coast and Egypt or so, I've forgotten now.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. You can see that Ivory Coast didn't deserve victory. I mean, they fielded a whole lot of old players. And they got tired. You can see that they were tired. And the Egyptians saw it and took advantage of that. I think you follow me. Now, age is so important in football now. Football is now a game. It has always been, but definitely it's a game for the swift and the strong. If you cannot run, forget about it. In fact, it becomes chasing the ball is now like 100 meter, 100 meter dash. You follow me? So you must have the strength and the energy to be able to play modern soccer now. Now, our boys they lack passion. You can see when they were playing. They were just playing, because maybe they have to play. They are not hunger or for victory. You can see that written in them. They are facing compared to their counterpart. And I will stop for that thing. These are things that really have to be put right if we want to get something.
Now, there's a question. You predicted right that we will not go beyond the group stages. In fact, you said we were not going to go beyond the very first grouping and that we are not going to win the matches that needs us to get to the next stage. It happened. What's your outlook on how we are likely to perform against Nigeria and whether or not we are likely to qualify to go to the World Cup?
Well, play with Nigeria will be quite an interesting match. Now, what I would suggest initially, some of the boys we have now are very good, especially one of the defenders. I can't get their names correct now, but one defender and then one Cherry. Is it Cherry or course?
Okay, yeah.
The same people.
He's also a good footballer. I want to watch him with us. The defender's name has escaped me.
Is it Jiku?
Yeah, is it Jiku, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good footballer. No doubt about that. You follow me? And that particular one, and then there's another young man also who did well. I think I can pick just about 3 of them there. Now, you can quickly use this small boy, these 3 of them, as a nucleus in forming a new team. It can be done.
I see.
Because we have better players playing across Europe and some even in this country now. So any coach who will come to quickly have to do that. Then, for heaven's sake, the coach should be allowed to make his own selection. That is very important. Whoever will be asked to take this boy, it might be a stopgap coach or whatever it is, the person definitely should give him the free hand to select his own boys. No, there shouldn't be any interference at all from anyone. If we are able to do that, and they are put on what I call war footing, they are put on war footing, they will be training. They will do nothing else than training hard. Definitely, then I can see that we can stand Nigeria. But the state in which we are now, if we go and play with Nigeria without really getting a good team in place, it's not a team that we have to call them a week or 2 weeks to the game. No, a team should be formed now.
Okay.
And be given intensive training. If we do that, I can tell you, things can be turned around.
There are those who are suggesting that we are only dealing with the symptoms of the problem. The root of the problem is that we need restructuring of our football system. And without doing that, we'll only be firefighting every time. Do you agree with those sentiments?
Well, I would say what we need now is a long-term program.
Okay.
A long-term program. Because you can see that structurally we are not strong. We are not strong at all. Structurally we are not strong. And we need a long-term program where no player will be indispensable. I think you follow me.
I get you.
Where no player at all shouldn't think without him, we can't have a team. The moment you do that, then the whole exercise will be competitive, and that will be very good for the Black Stars.
Now, there's a question though about the Parliament's call for a probe. Do you support the probe into what really happened at AFCON engagement? Do we need to really understand the details of it, or just the reports, we understand the team management and everything submitted to the FA is enough? Should we deliberately go for a longer probe, as some parliamentarians are demanding?
So what probe are they demanding?
Why we ended up the way we ended up at the AFCON?
There's no need for a probe now. I mean, that's why I say we put the whole thing on war footing. We don't have time for probes at the moment. Even in this country, when commissions are set up, what do we do with it? I mean, they should get off our back with that sort of agenda. What proof? Proofs have been going on in this country. People have been caught red-handed stealing. What has been done about it? I mean, we should forget about them and rather concentrate on the football. What proof? They will be the last group to come out with that suggestion. So we should focus rather on the ball that our football that we want to improve, and then what they have to do rather is to give financial support. They should ask and argue for some financial support for the football association. That is what they should do. Don't call for a probe. I don't think a probe is necessary at this time at all. What are we going to prove anyway? That will waste time and money. What we should do now is to focus on how to get the team, put them on war footing, get a coach who knows what it's about, and he can work hard. And I believe strongly that we can take things around.
I am grateful for your time, and I am grateful for your experience shared with us. Thank you so much, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Nyao Tamaklo is a former GFA boss. He also sits on the Accra's Hearts of Folk board. It is that last question, and I saw you nodding to many of the things you said earlier. Is that last question, Honorable Nilante Vanapor, that's important. Do we zoom in directly into preparing against Nigeria, or we should take a step back, review what's currently happened, look for long-standing solutions to the problem through a probe that some of your colleagues have suggested?
Well, Raymond, you see, I'm not surprised that my thoughts are almost similar to what Nyao has expounded. It tells you that people who've been in football can see further than what the ordinary person will see. I have said something. You said we have a problem. The problem we have doesn't call for people sitting down to just be drinking tea and just come out with a report, which will be shelved anyway. Almost after every Cup of Nations or World Cup qualifier, we have probes and committees and all those things. The outcomes are what are important to us. After Brazil, we have a team put together with Tia Kenten, Coach Nimle, and all those things to look at our performance and look at what we need to do in order to build a very sustainable, resilient team for the future. They brought a report. We left the power in 2016 or 2017, let me say. But the next administration have not used the report. They have not used that report. And that report is like a complementary document to Benkofi's 10-year agenda. The Benkofi's 10-year agenda is what gave us all these players that went to the World Cup in 2006, 2010, and 2014. So football is a process.
We have the templates. Yes,
the template is there. Like Nyao said, these boys, you cannot just throw away all of them. As I said, Fatau, Jiku, Chireb, Kamal Dean, Samuel Usu, Kudus are good players.
You have virtually eliminated the old players. That's basically what you have done.
Look, Nyao talk about what he did in Accra as a folk.
Yeah.
When he came, I was a member of that youth team. We started 1983 for Has 85. Razaka Jini, Anyete, Ashite, all of us were there. You understand? So it was easy for him to sack those old players and get us on board. And we played together for a long time.
Does experience not matter in this case?
It does, but it takes time. You see,
the Honorable Patrick Boama thinks that it is indiscipline. That's at the core of the problem.
The indiscipline is always there. Let me be frank with you. I can tell you one thing. You can never have a perfect team because the players all don't come from Abelenpe or Jowulu or East Legon estates. Some of them will come from my constituency. Some of them will come from Sabo Zongo. Some of them will come from Inshona, Atla, and all. They come with different characters and different attitudes. And you cannot have all of them behaving the same way. What you have to do is to know all of them very well and build. Let me be frank with you. All the teams that have won as the Cup of Nations were not just called to go and play a match. They were built over at least 2 years. All the teams that have gotten this level, the Comoros team we played with were not just called to come and play.
You're just making us
They've been built
think that
over
we need
a
to
period.
plan for the future.
Yes, we need to plan. We cannot.
But we are looking at a World Cup in the next few months.
That's why I'm saying that. Luckily enough, we have a team. We could have a skeletal team from which played in the AFCON. There are a lot more out.
Okay.
Put them together. Say that this look like a shadow of what we want to build for the future. Look, didn't Jones Atugofield play Accra House of Folk against Nigeria?
Yeah.
When Nigeria had then gone to the Olympics and won a medal. He played Accra House of Folk against them. And Nigeria couldn't beat Accra House of Folk. Do you know why? That Accra House of Folk team had played together for long.
Let's ask your colleague whether he agrees with you. And I'm told that we have you back on. I'm so grateful for your patience to stay on with us. The Honorable Patrick Boama. The question here, I mean, you were one of those who was saying that indiscipline is a big problem with the team. There's the consensus in the studio here that we have failed to build a team that will last a longer period, and that's why we are reaping the results today. How do we fix this problem? I mean, you are asking us to look at player selection and all of that, but currently, how do we fix this problem?
Let me play.
Brilliant. I think you are back on, yes.
Yeah, I think my colleague Neil Ante and Dr. Nyao Tamaklo are not far off from my views.
Okay.
Because if you are saying that we should invest in the FA, and you are at the same time saying that we don't need a probe, how do we investigate and get to an understanding that these are the reasons why we must invest more in these areas to achieve the results? Secondly, Neil Ante says the House of Folk played the Nigerians. I quite remember that game.
Yeah.
And I think we drew in Accra also.
Yes, we do.
So House of Folk at the time with the Yates and the Dombotes and co were national team materials. That's how come we're confident that they were going to be able to play the Nigerians. They are not far off because they all agree that, like Neil Ante rightly said, the Comoros team had been together for 2 years. Partey and his colleagues from England joined our camp base in Doha, I think less than a week to the tournament. How can you build a team to gel? So, if I call for a dissolution, it doesn't mean that we cannot get 2, 3, 4, 5 players like Neil Ante has mentioned to form the focal point or the building blocks for the new team that we are going to put together. We need 3 or 4, 5 players from the current squad to start the build-up process. And that is what we need, because you are playing Nigeria between the 24th and the 29th of March. Who are the likely contenders that you are going to invite? You don't have a coach now. Where do we start from? Those are questions that we must ask. Issues of indiscipline. What are the issues that make some of the players complain? Why are some of the players refusing national team calls? Those are things that we are going to look into. If need be, talk to some of them quietly to heed to the national call and play for our national team. I'm sure Neil Ante has been able to speak to a few players before to get them to play for the national team. I believe so. I know he's my brother.
Okay.
Footballers have big egos.
Okay.
You need to manage them very well because they play between the ages of 17 and 35 and they are retirement. So if you also don't put in the right structures for them to respect you and you think you can toy with their future, you invite them and they won't come. You can send whoever to their parents and they won't come. I can tell you, people are willing to play. We are also willing to put in our best to support the building up process. But I can tell you, it must start from a point. Those that we want to join the team must see that there's a new focus and a new strategy and vision. Secondly, the building blocks from the under 12, 16, 14, 20, 21, 2023 are not strong. What does the FA do with all those development funds at that level? We need to look into all of that so that we can see that we are building a national team with a future, so that even after this crop of players, we know that we have this set to replace them. That is what England did. That is why they are now able to play in the finals and semi-finals in top competitions, my brother.
I get your point. The counterpoint has been that a probe, this will not be the first time we are doing these things. I mean, we basically approved virtually all tournaments in the past, especially when we have not done so well. But it ended up not being implemented or being used as a guiding principle for anything useful in the future. Why are you so convinced this probe will be any different?
Why I say so, because, one, Neil and T talked about Ben Kofi's 10-year program.
Yeah.
The Jamefe Commission after Brazil was set up. If we have a new minister who has taken over, and this is his first major tournament, he also ought to understand what went wrong through his own investigations. A probe is just a big word. It could be an investigation into the happenings and what took place in Cameroon. Then he will be advised as a result of the report that will come out. Then he can take the right steps. Why has the FA decided to part ways with Milo? Is it not because of some of the complaints, some of the tactics that he adopted, some of the players that he kept on the bench? I believe some of them were even injured and they were even selected to go and warm up the benches. Who is in charge of player selection? Those are matters that will come into the investigation, because if we are able to do that, and there is satisfaction within the public space, you get a country behind the team again. But if you say, oh, let's leave it at that, let's go and play Nigeria, yes, because we played them and Nigeria and Ghana, there's no formula anybody at all can win. We must be joking, my brother. The Nigerians are a very strong team. Their defeat to Tunisia was one of them, but you could see that they have a solid unit. And most of their players are those with dual nationality documents have decided to join ranks, AFCON and co. Ordinarily, if the team was not attractive, they wouldn't have come. Let's make our national team attractive to other players who rather come home for holidays and are not interested in joining the national team. Let them see the professionalism in the organization of our FA so that they will be willing to come and play. Erase all those suspicions in the minds of those players out there so that they join the national team and we get the results that it requires.
I guess I had to leave it off here with you, and I thank you so much for joining us. Before I get you to give us your final words, it looks like some division on this matter of whether there should be a probe before we continue with fixing the blasters.
I don't really have any problem with the ban. My only thing is that what purpose will it serve? But let me say this. Patrick has raised a very sensitive question. I didn't want to go into that area.
Yeah. Is it player selection?
It's one of our major problems.
But you be sports minister. How is player selected?
You see, like Milo didn't select these players.
So they were selected for him.
The team was put.
But is it fair to treat him
you see, the problem we
like
have,
he selected the players?
You'll be alarmed. Between 2020 and now, we've used close to 161 players.
Is that problematic?
It is.
If you are not good enough?
It means you don't have your team. You don't have a team. Nowhere in the world would a national team use this number of players over 2 years.
Okay.
You have a core of a team. What you do is that once somebody dips in form, another player who is in form replaces him. Mm-hmm. That's why you see somebody like Jesse Lingard going in and out of the English national team. When he was playing for Manchester, he was not featuring for Manchester. He lost his position in the national team.
That's true.
When he went to West Ham and started performing well, he came back into the national team. That's the way you build national team. That's the way we built our national teams in the past. Look, when we had Kojo Asamoah and the rest, Kojo Asamoah will not be performing well. He's not out of the national team. Somebody comes, Frank Achu comes to play in this position. When Kojo Asamoah picks up in form, he takes over his position. Until he's...
But is he not the guy who said he will not play for the Blasters again?
Patrick has made one point. If I'm a player, and I know I'm better than Raymond, I'm playing in a much more competitive league than Raymond. I am informed than Raymond. But because I'm not managed by somebody at the FA, when I come to a national team, I will not play. And then Raymond will play because Raymond is managed by somebody at the FA.
But it's not a conflict of interest.
That is the issue. So our issue is not basically all about technical. It's also about administrative and management. In as much as we have people who are involved in player management, in agency, and being agents of other agents, and have vested interest in selection of players, the corruption within the selection will continue to permeate, and it will always have a problem for us.
Effectively, we are not recruiting the right players because the people recruiting the players are also part of the management.
The people selecting the players, I want to use that word, selecting the players.
Selecting the players.
Because that is what our football have come to. That is where we've gotten to. That people who have vested interest in players are the same people managing the national team, are the same people running our football. How would that be possible?
But how can that be resolved?
That can be resolved. Let me say this.
But I mean, surprisingly, if this period of having to after
I will not want 12, to. I will not want to go
after number 12.
Look,
the 930 period ended. Yes. We thought you have fixed these problems. Why are we basically back to square one?
The thing is a canker. You cannot just fix it by dressing the surface. You remember, I've always said that our football has been run on the cow dung management style. I said that when I was a minister, and people didn't understand. We always scratch the surface and leave the maggots. It is not right. We cannot solve problems like that. You see, if we had won elections in 2016, the first policy outline of John Mahama's government as far as our football management, especially with the national team is concerned, is that anybody involved in club management will not come near our national team.
Should they do so now?
Of course. Raymond, tell me, assuming you are managing a player, and I'm managing a player, and the two players play almost the same position.
Yeah.
And you are into football administration. You are a member of the FA. And it is time to call players for a national team. Will you ask that my player is called or your player?
Of course, I mean, if I'm pursuing self-interest.
Yes.
But since I tend to put the nation first.
The people who are doing football there are not there as Father Christmas and Santa Claus. They are there because they want to make money.
We expect them to put the nation first.
Well, you expect them to put the nation first, but they won't put the nation first because they are only in football because they want money. Because they see football as business, and they want to pursue their business and interest. They will not go and sit there and think about you or me. They will think about what benefits will come to them first. Until we are able, that's why in other jurisdictions, people involved in player agency and management do not come near national teams. They do not even come into the football administration.
I see.
Where do you see any of these football agents?
Because you can't be referee and player in this particular case.
Involved in the football administration of England. It's not done. In football, it is about functions. If you are into player agency, you are into player agency. If you are into administration, you are into administration. If you are into management, you are into management. If you are a technical person, you are a technical person. It's division of labor. But you can have relationships. But you see, when you, the person, is into football management, is into agency, it's into player management, there is always a conflict. And that conflict, it will be difficult for you to extricate yourself from that. Because no matter what, at the end of the day, you must have money to develop the teams and the players you have.
Who can bring about this change? This change that you talk about, where we extricate them from any role related?
It is us, all of us who have interest.
But we don't control the GFA, right?
That's what I'm saying. When I'm talking about us,
some autonomy granted.
I'm happy this particular issue came up in Parliament.
Okay.
And I thought that I didn't contribute because I thought I would not have enough time to contribute. I'm looking for opportunity like this. All of us will sit down and then we can address the issue. It goes beyond just getting up on the floor of the house and just speaking for 5 minutes or 7 minutes on this issue. It goes to people sitting down, irrespective of political affiliation, thinking through, looking at the at least documents that have in the past, studies that have been done. The Ben Kofi document is there, the Otia Kente Animle and other people documents are there. We can put all together and say that, look, why did you think that?
Should we do this immediately?
I think if we qualify for the World Cup, we will not have much time.
Okay.
But I'm looking at we students, the Ghana Project 2030, Ghana Project 2035, 2040. Then we are looking at building a team that will be able to feature prominently in AFCON and World Cup and possibly win the World Cup.
Has the current GFA failed?
Well, I'm somebody who believes in giving people a chance. But you see, a lot was done before they are coming in. And I thought that they would have built on the blocks that were set after number 12. But unfortunately,
have they failed?
I wouldn't say they have failed, but they could have done better.
Have they fallen below the standard we expect of them?
They've fallen below the expectation of me in particular.
What is mostly done when people fall below the expectations like this? Should we sack them?
Sometimes you can also correct. It's because you can also give an opportunity to correct because they are new. They are virtually 1 year and a few months. So give them an opportunity to correct their mistakes and build upon it. Because if you sack them, in fact, as we say today, you cannot sack them because they have a mandate.
Yeah, I understand that.
So it will bring a whole lot of trouble to our football.
But some have said that the worst you can get is a 2-year ban. Then we go into reform.
Yeah, you can take that. You can take that. You can take that risk. You can take that risk.
I'm asking you. I mean, you have been.
That was what I intended.
You wanted to happen.
My battle with the FA at that time. That's what I intended. That in as much as possible will touch what is not supposed to be touched. You must be fearless and you must be critical in this issue. Face the consequences, like Nyao said he did with Accra Sofo that time. Ultimately, people will see. Let them call you names, let them insult you, let vilify you. But then ultimately, people will understand why you told. But you must know why you are taking that step. You must have an objective. You must have a vision. You just don't take it. You cannot take decisions erratically and hysterically. You must be convinced about what you want to do. England came to a stage so that, look, football, we are the fathers of football, but then we are performing poorly. So they started with the idea of St. George's.
Yeah.
The idea that in 10 years, 20 years down the line, we shall succeed. And started building small from the junior level, academy, school sports, under 12, under 14, and then today, the English have won European under 20, under 17. They've gone to the World Cup under 20. Their performance have been excellent. And at the senior level, they've been to the European Cup finals. They've gone to the World Cup semi-finals. It means that they are improving. And that team that went to the European Cup finals is still the team that is playing today. With just a few changes. That is what you say you are building. Or the Spanish team that won the World Cup twice had been put together for 15 years. All countries that have won trophies at the senior level of football did not just do Fefrekobo. Time for Ghana Fefrekobo is gone. We must take this decision and say we are not going to do Fefrekobo anymore.
Who should be our next coach?
Well, to me, I had in mind one gentleman. He's been in football for long. I think that when we have him, he's a Ghanaian descent.
Who is
Chris
this?
Hughton. Chris Hughton is handled Newcastle, is handling...
He's not the guy we could not pay.
Yes, but I'm saying that...
But if we cannot pay him, that means he's really out of our reach.
I'm saying that when you have a project, some people from his background, he will want to tap into the project and not money.
Okay.
But when you decide to give him a short-term goal, then he will demand money. But when it's a project, you say, look, Chris, we are employing you. These are our local guys. We want them to be with you to transfer knowledge. So you have a project of about 10, 20 years. He sits down and says, look, at the senior level, this is what we want to do. You, Raymond, Ni are going to help me do this.
Okay.
At the junior level, this is what we want to do. So his football is not going to be only focused on the national team, the Black Stars.
Okay.
His focus is going to be with our Black Stars, Black Meteors, Black Satellites, Black Starlets, and our women football. So then he will also now come up and see who is the best person to handle our women's football. Then he also start building so that he has that knowledge that he can design for them and then monitor. 2, you tell him that, look, we know Ghana, we have a lot of players. Don't limit yourself to this area.
Okay. Look
at our local league. Look, when I was coming, I was just watching a match, a local league match between Lagos Cities and I've forgotten Chelsea. And immediately after the first half, I said, this boy could play the national team. Local players.
Even there.
It means that we are not casting our net wider to be able to see all the perspectives.
But if the determinants are already having their players, what's the...
That is a fact. That's one thing. People don't want to say it, but I'm saying that is our main problem. Look, people talk about we've won cup 4 times. Those days we won the trophy. Who knew about football management? Who knew about football agency?
Yeah, that's true.
Who knew about taking a player to manage a player? As at the time we went to Libya to win the cup, the only 2-3 players who had tasted professional football was Jaja Lassa and Emmanuel Kwashi, and to some extent, I think Adolfama or Abedi Pele. That Abedi was still a local player. He had not even gone to Gabon. So it is not just about, because these interests have come in, it has even diluted into our local. Do you know that sometimes a local player will be told, until you go to play for Accra, Suffolk, or Asante Kotoko, you will not be called to a national team. But those days, we had players who were playing for Bafakwa, BA United, Georg Stars, Dumas Boys, SS74, all getting opportunity to play for our national team. Irrespective of the team you are playing. There were times you could have many players from Kotoko or Haas, yes, but you also definitely will have players from these other teams to complement the effort. But today, because of football agency, look, I can tell you, if you sit down, Raymond, and watch the English Football League alone, not even the Premier League, Football League, you can know the number of Ghanaian players in the Football League.
Okay.
It's because people are looking at their... Look, let me give you one story. When I was
because I'm wrapping up, this will be very good for me.
When I was trying to get Danny Welbeck
to
play for our national team, Professor Mills was a close friend to the late president was a close friend to his father. Okay. And we talked to him. Do you know what he said? What they said? They said, but I heard that Ghana football is full of juju. Mm-hmm. Today, that issue has come to the forefront.
Yes, it's been discussed.
True? Is it true?
You are a former minister. You played football before.
I know. Look.
Is it true?
I am a Christian, but the fact is that
you believe
that is what some people believe in as far as our football is concerned.
And it's happening.
It happens. Even if the FA will come and take money from you.
In the 21st century, it's happening.
Even if FA members will come and take money, want to take money to go and do juju.
Yeah.
Because they think that that's what will help us to win a match.
Which budget line do they write for that?
Ways and means.
Okay. Honorable, thank you so much for joining us. Well, folks, that's where we end today's edition of Upfront. Many thanks to you for watching.